What's going on, everyone? We're back again with definitely a totally optimized human. Greg Lutzka, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, for people that don't know you, from what I hear, you started off playing a little hockey, a sport close to my heart, even though I could never really play it very well. I was good at using a stick, but not skating and using a stick. And then from there, just decided, maybe I'll just be one of the best skateboarders in the world, and I've succeeded in doing that, along with playing around, having a lot of fun on the snowboard and a couple other things. Um, would you say that's an accurate description of how things went?
Yeah, you kind of know a bit about me. I grew up in the Midwest in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and yeah, I grew up playing ice hockey. I was on skates since about age two or three. So I played all the way up to high school. A few buddies of mine had skateboards on the hockey team, and I picked up a skateboard and kind of knew it was over since then. I just wanted to skate, and the difference between skateboarding and ice hockey was, well, ice hockey there was always times you had to be there at a certain time, or there's practice, and you'd go to games, and you would either win or lose, and if you lost, people were blaming the goalie or other
Right.
people on the team or whatever it was. It's a team sport. Skateboarding, you can do it whenever you want, wherever you want. There's no one to blame but yourself at the end of the day. You can blame your shoes, your board all you want. And one good thing about skateboarding, it's just kind of you're constantly wanting to like progress yourself. And that's how it's always been for me now. And it's always been like that back then. So it's always trying to learn new tricks and taking it to different obstacles and going out in things that aren't meant for skateboarding. And you can get in a little bit of trouble from the cops or whatever it is. And going on different properties, but at the end of the day, it's pretty fun, and you're pushing yourself to a whole nother level every single day. So you're constantly competing, not against other people, really against yourself, and that's what I really like about skateboarding.
Yeah, there's even a lot of science coming out about the effect that trying these new things. First of all, skateboarding is really going to get you in what people are calling a flow state now. Anyways, just the very act of the gliding and the tricks and the spinning and all of the action that's going on is going to really force you to focus on the present, which is an amazing. It's like a drug for the body, is really what they're finding, the release of chemicals and what that makes you feel. But then you combine that with new challenges, learning new tricks, and it's like the perfect storm for creating, really exciting and interesting experiences for your brain as well as your body.
Yeah, your body does take a little bit of a toll,
Mm-hmm.
but just like anything, as long as you're taking good supplements and stuff that can help out, that's definitely great, and that's kind of why I like on it. And the strong bone is a great key point supplement that I take daily that works very well for keeping my joints and everything in point and intact.
Yeah, yeah, because as we've all seen on a few ridiculousness and a couple other shows, you guys take some pretty gnarly falls. But I think that's another one of the things that's key to like focusing you. So tell us about like what it feels like when you're skateboarding, because I'm really very interested in this kind of flow state phenomenon right now and really
Yeah,
tracking
for
that.
me, skateboarding, I'm at the point now, I've been doing it for so long that a lot of it is mental. It's just putting yourself in the mental right place to do these tricks, just because I know how to do them like the back of my hand, and you just take it from different obstacles and putting yourself in a mental good state to do them. And then it's nothing like the best feeling just rolling away at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And going through the process, you're looking at a 12 stair or 15 stair handrail, and it's scary. And your first attempt at it is like, it's kind of do or die. And then once you get on it, from there, it's just kind of like, oh, that wasn't so bad. And you go a little bit further, and then, you're sliding all the way down the rail, and then you almost land, and then you land on, and you fall off. And it's just like the whole build up to it. And, you have your filmer there, and they're looking at the footage, and you're just getting excited. And then when you're finally rolling away, and that feeling's like the best. So, it's like a process kind of, especially when we're filming for these video parts and photos for the magazine and all that. You're kind of putting yourself through like a mental state of mind, and just to stay like, I guess, not stressed and just focused on like what you want to do is like one of the most important things. And afterwards, looking at the footage, it's just really cool. And then, you do that, for weeks on end, you start building up, a whole portfolio of all these tricks, and they're on your computer, and you put them all together, and it starts making a video part. And that's where you just get really excited
Mm-hmm.
to just keep it going and push yourself to bigger and better stuff and obstacles. And then when it finally comes out to the public, and you do a video premiere, it goes on Thrasher magazine or some of these places that kids watch and companies are watching. It's just pretty cool. You know, you go to the premiere and you're just watching like it's kind of like a story or like a book that you're kind of looking back on because it's every single trick was like some kind of a mission. You know, either driving super far, you're getting kicked out by the cops, or you get hurt, or you didn't get the trick, you got to go back,
Right.
or it's like success. So it's kind of like it's pretty cool
It
at the end of
sounds
the day.
sounds like it. So for a lot of people can't skateboard at all, and a lot of people don't do these kind of tricks. But I think there's always, no matter what it is, there's these opportunities to push past these moments of fear. And I remember personally, I had one like an irrational fear of a trampoline backflip. Like there's no reason. Like I could backflip off 10 feet into a pool of water and I'd be like, oh, no problem. But for whatever reason, like my body would lock up when I would go to do it. I'd be bouncing and then I'd go to do a backflip and then there'd be this override switch that just said, nope, not going to do it.
Yeah.
And then eventually one day I was like, I just have to fucking do it. Like I can't leave myself any options. I'm going to bounce 3 times and I'm going to do it. And that exhilaration of when I actually pushed through that fear, I didn't land it great, but I landed it fine. Like there wasn't actual danger. It was like fear in my head. So I guess for you, there's got to be those moments that you've trained yourself past where your body almost wants to just like hit that reject button, just like, no, stop, like don't do this. You got to be crazy. So how do you push past that? And like, what are some of the techniques that you use?
Um, a lot of it's just like I said, it's mental. You know, you just got to let your body kind of go, and you kind of got to be one with your board and just kind of feel it out. You know, and don't start off doing something to like know your limit. You know, so
Right.
if you've only been skating for a couple of years, you should probably be, unless you're ready to be jumping down big sets of stairs or big handrails, you should start on smaller stuff. So you just kind of build your way up. And I guess skate parks help out a lot with that. Like growing up in the Midwest, it would snow half the year. So I was constantly, after school at the skate park for hours on end. And the obstacles there were a little smaller. And then you're around other people that are doing it. So it kind of pushes you because you see other guys jumping on the rails or whatever. And it kind of just puts you in the state of like, monkey see, monkey do. When you see something, someone else do it, it's like it kind of puts you in your mind, hey, I got that too. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So skate parks help out a lot with that. And then you just take it to the streets. And when you take it to the streets, you, like I said, you start smaller and then you just kind of build your way up. Next thing you know, you're front boarding and backflipping double kink handrails and 15 stair rails, and you're really pushing yourself to that next level. And you do get hurt. I mean, I've done my collarbone and my ligaments and my ankle stretched out, and but you recover and you grow from it and you become stronger and you become more I don't know what the word is, more focused and more like mentally aware. You can get hurt, but at the same point, if you can overcome it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, and that's what life, I think, in general is about. It's about pushing yourself, whether you're on the skateboard or off the skateboard. And yeah, that's skateboarding to me, and it's brought a lot of opportunities, a lot of traveling, meet a lot of rad people, and I've learned more skateboarding through anything else in my life. So.
Yeah, for sure. Know the way broadly and you'll see it in all things was a famous quote from Musashi. Really you can use any set of skills to reach mastery of your life if you dedicate yourself enough to that. It could be skateboarding, it could be calligraphy, it could be whatever you want, but the dedication to that practice will yield a result that is not just focused on that one particular skill, which is great. You'll improve that skill, but it'll improve the quality of your life. But the key is just really pushing yourself to the limit in whatever that might be.
Exactly. I agree 100%. So, I
Yeah.
mean, just through skateboard, I've learned a lot on my board and even off my board, and makes you a better person, and it opens your mind to other cultures throughout the world, and traveling has definitely helped that, and, meeting new people and checking out new places and experiencing new things is all part of life.
Yeah, no doubt. So you mentioned that, when you go to a skate park, you see somebody else do something and then that plants an idea in your head, like, oh, I can do that. Do you think this kind of rapid expansion of capability, has been a result of like, because, in the last 10, 15 years, the tricks have just gotten crazier and crazier at a rate that has never before been this fast. Is that because of X Games and because everybody is seeing these new things? So it's this, oh, I saw that, now I can do that. Now what's the next thing? And then is that leading into that, you think?
I think so, because when I was growing up as a kid, I looked up to guys like Jamie Thomas and Andrew Reynolds and some of these guys at Jeff Raleigh, they're still around today, and they're some of my favorite skateboarders. And then nowadays, you have these newer guys like Nigel Houston, and some of these guys are just on a whole nother level. And I looked up to Jamie and those guys, and I wanted to kind of do what he did. So I skated the way he did, and then, there's kids that skate in my era that, like P Rod and some of these guys that probably Nigel looked up to, and they're like, man, I want to skate like them. And obviously, like, a bit gnarlier stuff, different level stuff than those guys were. And now Nigel's on that next level. It's just, yeah, what you look up to and what you know is possible is kind of what you're going to be. And then you want to push yourself further. So it's constantly growing and going and going. And then I think just like with the X Games and U Tours and Street League and the video games out there, I think it just skateboard into where more and more kids want to do it because, you see it on TV. And for some reason, when you see stuff on TV, it just like kind of explodes, so skateboarding just kind of grew and got even bigger. And especially with the reality shows that Rob's done and Ryan's done and Bam's done, it's definitely grown since I was a kid being, one of four skateboarders in my whole high school. Where now, especially here in Southern California, there's everyone either skates or surfs or even snowboards. And I see more kids doing that than playing baseball,
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with team sports. I played ice hockey growing up as a kid. It's just, I think surfing and skateboarding and snowboarding is just more of a active lifestyle that you put on yourself, and, no one's going to do it but you, and you can bring it as far as you want to go. And I think that's really important. In life and pushing yourself and not having anyone to blame. Everyone's kind of always looking for a reason. Well, oh, this or the weather or the goalie or this. Like at the end of
Mm.
the day, if you're out there surfing and you're not hitting waves, I mean, there's no one to blame. Or if you're at the mountain and you're not hitting obstacles and you're not pushing yourself, there's no one to blame. And that's kind of like, I think that's something that's really cool, and that's what kind of builds and helps you grow as a person and helps you, um, progress your talent. And I think at for me, it's like a high. That's me getting high is, progressing and landing new tricks and taking, my skill to a whole nother level. And even at the contest or when I go skateboard, going against Paul Rodriguez or Ryan Sheckler or beating these guys, it's more about just beating myself, and just I've won a lot of contests, I've lost a lot of contests. It never really mattered to me whether I won or lost, So
Mm.
it was just more about going out there and progressing my skating and doing what I love and having fun doing it. And I think that's the reason why I've done so well in a lot of these events is because I just never cared. I mean, even after the contest, I didn't even pick up my prize money. I won 160 grand at the Maloof Money Cup at this event. I didn't even pick up the check, like they sent it to the house or whatever.
Yeah.
It ended up getting to where it needed to be, but it was never about the money. It was never about the fame. It was never about the any of that. And a lot of times when I've won contests, I've won Tampa 3 times now, and I'm going back again this year. I didn't even care to go there to win. I just I didn't even show up to practice most of the time. I just skated, and I think that's one of the most important things is not really thinking or overthinking the situation. A lot of people get nervous in events or in front of people, and hey, you're just out there. Who cares what people think? You're just out there doing what you love to do, and all this stuff around you doesn't really matter because you're just there doing what you love to do. And that I skate the best, and there's obviously pressure put on from sponsors or whatnot, but I skate the best without really thinking about it as much.
It's
So that's kind of yeah.
Yeah, it seems like that's a characteristic that you find in a lot of these outdoor focused kind of extreme sports, if you will. The skiers that I know, the snowboarders that I know, the skaters that I know, they have that very much this attitude of just I'm going to go out there and perfect what I'm capable of doing. Whereas you don't see that often in team sports. It's kind of interesting. I mean, the best team sports players I know are so hyper competitive. Generally the win is the fucking thing. It's beating
Yeah.
that opponent across from them. And I think, both have value, certainly,
Yeah.
in using an opponent to test your skills versus, using yourself as a measure. But it's just interesting how these different modalities kind of trigger different mechanisms within these athletes. Do you think it's the sports themselves that create this feeling, or is it the athletes that are attracted to these sports? Is
I
it
think it's the
correlation or causation?
mentality. I think football and some of these sports are. I don't want to downgrade anything. It's just more of a like more of a jock sport where I think skateboarding and surfing and snowboarding is more like a lifestyle, just more mellow, easygoing, you know, go with the flow kind of deal, you know. And that's why like a lot of skaters aren't cocky really, you know. They're all pretty laid back. You don't really, maybe you have a few that just think they're a little bit better than another, but not really. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all friends out there. We're all skating because we love to do it. And there's a little bit of competitive in it when you're at the contest for some guys, but at the end of the day, we're all out there doing what we love to do, and it's a pretty mellow lifestyle. And you just want to be cool, calm, and collective and relaxed, you know, on your
Yeah.
board. So like that's the most important thing is, you know, you don't want to be jittery, you don't want to be overstressed, you don't want to be like the jock dude out there. Oh, you know what I mean? You just want to feel one with the board and feel calm and cool and just feel like you want to feel the board, you know what I mean? And that's kind of what skateboarding's about. And your attitude is like everything. So it's just a different mentality than I think a lot of other sports. And you know, with football, it is about the win because you know you got the Super Bowl and you got all this.
Uh-huh.
I think with skateboarding, it's not necessarily always about the win. It's more about progressing yourself and having fun out there and just you know enjoying it. That's what skateboarding's about. It's about having fun and enjoying it. And if you're not having fun doing it, then you shouldn't be doing it.
Right.
So
It seems like also, you know, with something like skating or anything that's involving the natural elements, you know, like you're pulling a trick on an apparatus or you're testing the limits of gravity in the ground. I mean, gravity in the ground will always win if you think you're too cocky. You know,
yeah,
it's like the ultimate humbler, you know, whereas if you can play basketball, and I was a basketball player, I love basketball, but if you're better than everybody, it's real easy to be cocky because there's no other person to humble you, you know,
yeah,
and I think that's definitely seems like to me an important factor is there's always the ground and it's a stern teacher, you know, if you want to think that you're better than you are.
yeah. I think a lot of those sports, yeah, a lot of the guys are kind of cocky, and I don't know. I don't really relate to it, so I don't really talk anything about it. But you know, it's definitely not snowboarding's not like that. Skateboard's not like that. Surfing's not like that. This industry is just not. It doesn't have that vibe to it. You know.
Hmm. And then so, you know, you guys are, but you at the same time, it's not all about, you know, this kind of relaxed kind of program. You guys are elite athletes and you
Yeah.
take care and you train like elite athletes and you put yourself through some rigors. So tell us a little bit about some of that aspect of things, how you prepare yourself for what you got to go
Yeah. I
through.
mean, I don't do anything too crazy. Stretching is really good. I try to eat really well.
Hmm.
Especially nowadays, I try to eat better and I try to take care of my body more than when I was 18, 19 years old. Um, Yoga is really good
Hmm.
for skateboarding just because your flexibility is really good. Lifting light weights, you know, is good. I think that just more helps out with it. You're like you're you know feeling strong. But at the end of the day, it just comes down to skateboarding and being on your board and being confident on your board. And the only way you're going to do that is to skate every day. Or, you know, there's days you got to take off. You can't skate every single day because your body just gets sore. But the more you're on your board, the more confident and you're going to be. And of course, just everyday lifestyle, eating well, taking good supplements helps out. Just feeling good, and when you feel good, you're gonna. And that's kind of why I take supplements and I try to eat the best I can. And traveling gets really difficult because you know there's not always the best food in the airport. So
Definitely not.
um, so that gets a little tough. But you know, at the end of the day, you know, you just try to do the best you can and try to skate as much as you know, don't really worry about getting hurt because when you start worrying about getting hurt, you get hurt. So,
So what
uh,
is that? What is that phenomenon? Because I believe that 100%. The
yeah,
things that you fear, you manifest. What is the mechanism that causes that?
it's the law of attraction. I
Yeah.
mean, what you think is what's going to happen. You know what I mean? So, um, yeah, so you want to stay positive and like in a good state of mind. And, you know, I don't know why when you think you're going to get hurt, you get hurt. Um, And for me, I get hurt on silly things. Like when I'm jumping down big sets of stairs, I never really get hurt. But if I'm outside my front of my house, dorking around, not really thinking, and I don't know, it just happens on the stupidest stuff sometimes.
Right. Well, there's a
So
couple things there. One is they would say that, you know, the people who study flow state, like Stephen Kotler, would say that in these tricks that you don't really have to think about, they're super easy, you're not in flow state. So you're not at the peak of your potential at all. You know, you're at a fraction of your potential as a skater because you don't have in your mind that sense of risk that heightens your alertness, heightens your focus, gets you in that zone that you need to be in. So, in that theory, that makes absolute sense. Whereas on the gnarliest tricks you got, every cell and every fiber of your being is locked into the present moment.
Yeah.
And you have to stay there, because if your mind wanders, you're going to, break a collarbone or something terrible, so
Yeah, a
it
lot of times
certainly
when I'm
makes sense.
skating big sets of stairs or a new handrail or something, that's kind of scary. I envision it. I go up to it. I actually look at it like I see myself doing it before I do it. So I look at where I'm gonna get on, and it's almost like I envision already doing the trick and it's been done. So, and then I just like look at it and then turn right around, run back, and just go for it. No even like second guessing, because if you second guess yourself or you kind of wuss out or whatever you want to call it, it just builds up and you're building more into your mind. So you kind of go up to it, you look at the rail, okay, that's where I'm going on. I see it. Boom, grab my board, go back and just go for it. Then once I go for it, I jump on, I'm like, oh, that wasn't that bad.
Uh-huh.
Now it's easier. And then you just kind of build your way, sliding all the way down the handrail or whatever the trick is. And then, eventually landing on it and then rolling away. And it's just kind of like, whoa, all right.
Yeah, I hear you. It's funny. It's interesting hearing how you do it, and I'm curious to know like how you troubleshoot. Like, let's say you go up there, you envision it, that's going good, and then as you're grabbing your board or something, you get some fucking terrible thought in your head. Like, do you have like a troubleshooter's kit? Because that
I
happens
try
to
not
me
to get a
sometimes.
terrible thought in my head. But I'm not gonna lie, like had been times where I run and I go with the obstacle and it doesn't, just something happens and you're like a cat, you know what I mean? You just want to get out of it, so you just like put your foot on the rail and whatever you got to do to get past the stairs and roll and just get out of it, you got to do. And it just kind of, I guess you got to have quick reflexes.
Yeah.
And I noticed that in life from skateboarding because I ride motorcycles and sometimes I drive my car crazy or whatever it is. Knock on wood, I've been pretty good so far. But there's quick reflexes, through skateboarding, just in other things in life that I see.
Sure. So one of the other tactics that I've talked to some other people who use, and one of the UFC fighters, I don't know if you're a UFC fan, but the champ John Jones, I got to sit down and have see him the night before his fight with Daniel Cormier, and he was talking to Joe Rogan and I, and he was saying that he envisioned every worst case scenario that could happen in that fight. Cormier taking him down, holding him down. He went through all the worst, getting a huge cut over his eye, getting knocked out, getting embarrassed, getting all this, and like lived every worst case scenario to the point that he was no longer afraid of it. And at that point, he could approach the fight with fearlessness because he'd accepted, that the worst may happen, then that he was still going to be okay. And to him, that was his mechanism of getting past the fear. And that has a link that goes way back to, combat culture. The samurai in the book, the Hagakure, talk about the same thing, like going through and in every gory detail, imagining all the ways that they could die and accepting those possibilities so that like a scary movie you've watched over and over and over again, it no longer scares you anymore. You're like, yeah, I'm going to be all right no matter what. Is that something that you've ever kind of played with, or do you just try to stay positive, not think about it?
No, I think with skateboarding, there's been lots of times where I've got frustrated and wanted to give up on tricks and gotten hurt. And you just kind of tell yourself, just kind of like he did, it ain't going to get worse than this. You know what I mean? It can't get worse than this,
Yeah.
And that's the way, and, I don't know why it happens sometimes. And I film with kind of the same guy every time I go filming. So he knows me like the back of my hand. So we'd go film at 2 a.m. and we drove an hour and a half to this double kinked kind of handrail. It's a pretty big rail. And I was just getting worked on this thing. I mean, I was front boarding down it to the flat and getting chucked off the side. And he just looks at me. He's like, dude, we've been here for an hour and a half. I was going to give up. I have the keys. We're not going home until you do this. And I got super pissed at him. I threw my hat at him. And I just, my body's done. I've gotten the shit beat out of me on this rail. And it just wasn't going to happen. And I got so frustrated. I said, F you, Hoops. Like, this is it. Like, this is it. We're done. We're done. I went back. I ended up landing it. And I gave him a high five. Thank you for saying that. But he just got under my nerves. And there's times that shit happens,
Uh-huh.
And yeah, I mean, there's times where you're skating and you're like, it just can't get worse than this. It can't get worse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you kind of get over it. There's also times where I've been trying to trick for, 45 minutes and I just can't do it. And then all of a sudden the cops come around the corner and I'm like, whoa, this is the last one. Something in your mind just triggers like you have to do it this one, and then you roll away. And there's been times where we go skating. He's like, well, I'm going to call the cops because, if the cops come around the corner, it's going to be already done. And that happens a lot in contests. You look at skate contests and you're like, how the heck did they do that many gnarly tricks in a matter of, 10 minutes or whatever the jam format is. And I think a lot of it is just you're in the mindset like land, 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 where when you go street skating and filming, you have as many tries. You're kind of like, all right, cool, I'll throw myself on this rail. All right, cool, I'll walk back up, try it again. You know what I mean?
Right.
When you put your mindset like I have to do it this try, you give it everything you have. And for me, that might be another reason why I do pretty decent in contests, because I'm good under pressure, I guess. So when pressure hits, it's something about it. Just it usually comes through, and it happens with street skateboarding. It happens with contests, and I think that's you look at Nigel Houston, he's really good at contests as well, and I think it's in his mind just like boom, boom, So there's no looking back, and you're giving your 150% every single try. Where when you go filming it, you're giving 100%, but not every single try, because you can walk back up the stairs,
right.
until you see the police come or someone kicking you out or something, that happens like that.
Yeah, that the pressure to make it happen right then.
Pressure, it's all the pressure, and sometimes certain people do good under pressure, and skateboarding can definitely have some pressure.
Yeah, I remember I used to like to play in either really hostile crowd. That was actually my favorite. Like in really hostile crowds where the crowd, like you go to the bench and they would spit on you and like try and splash you with water or beer or something like that. Those were always the environments that I liked to play the most. That or like really passionate home games. But the ones where like the gym was empty and it was like the second game of a triple header and something like that. It's tough to bring like everything that you got on that, because you're like, we got another fucking game, and it gets easier to kind of relax. But those ones where the stakes are higher, it tends to bring out the best, or bring out some cracks. You certainly also see people in these moments, and I think that's one of the reasons why watching these things is so exciting, because you see what happens, see how these humans adapt to these incredible stakes that's why the Super Bowl is so popular too. It's like it's the biggest fucking stage that they can get to. Like, what's going to happen,
It's true. Millions of people are watching that for sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, and betting on it. Pissed about it. If they lose.
Yeah, no skateboard betting, is there?
Not like Super Bowl, man. Super Bowl is a whole nother avenue, but a whole nother monster. There are, at times I've, but not like how betting is in pools and all that kind of stuff with football. But there's times where they're at the events and people kind of will bet who will win,
Right.
But I think it's just more fun in games and doing it over having a beer watching,
Yeah, for sure. Well, any other kind of takeaways that you can share with our audience here, things that have helped you along your path that you think are applicable, beyond the realm of skateboarding?
Skateboarding really has just opened my eyes to like a whole nother, other places, you know what I mean? So with traveling and everything, I never even came to Southern California, and I wouldn't probably have never came here if it wasn't for skateboarding. And I love it here just because the weather is great. And also traveling, like as a young kid, I started traveling at 15 years old, going to Australia and Japan and Europe and seeing the different cultures, and going back to school and me kind of educating the teacher of what it's like
right
there, which is, in school you're reading about history or you're looking at it in a book, but it's just not the same when you're actually going places and you're living and breathing it and seeing the culture and hearing people speak different languages and trying to understand it and going out with distributors. And skateboarding just has taught me a lot on my board and off my board, like I said before. And I think, I don't want to say skateboarding saved my life, but, it's definitely opened my mindset to a place that I wouldn't have been if it wasn't for skateboarding. And then it comes down to also like taking care of your body, eating. The older I get, like the better I want to eat and take care of my body and do stretches and, take good supplements for your bones. And so I guess it put me in a mindset of, health and fitness a bit too. So not only did skateboarding bring, culture shocks to me, but it also helped bring health and fitness, and it also helped me business wise too, where you can actually take something like a skateboard and make it a living and take it as a business, and as something that you love to do and something that you love to do for fun. So I think that's everything, and looking at anybody, I mean, it's not about skateboarding, it's not about football, it's not about anything but in life. If you can figure out what you love to do and figure a way to make it a living, I think that's what the goal is, because that's what's going to make you happy. Because at the end of the day, you're doing what you love to do. And if you're able to make a living doing it, that's awesome. And it's not about making a lot of money or a little bit of money. You just got to get by and be happy. And
Yep.
some of the most richest people that have the most money are the most poorest people because they're not happy. Some of the poorest people are the richest people because they're happy. And happiness is everything. And I think that's like one key point with skateboarding for me. It makes me really happy, and that's why I do it. That's why I enjoy it. And then also on the aspects, I take it as a business, and that's why I'm able to do it for a living
Hmm.
and have that kind of mindset to work with companies and create cool products and endorse these products and things that I truly believe in, that I really like, and experience it and talk about it and show kids about it and why I would take this, or why I ride this board, or why I like this fit on this sole on this shoe. We're designing shoes right now with Osiris, and you know, it's been a great experience because a lot of shoes are vulcanized shoes. They're really grippy, but they're thin, and they do a thing called it's like a fake vulcanized shoe, but it's actually a cup sole. So when you're jumping down stairs and stuff, you're not bruising your feet, but it has the grip around the shoe to be able to basically fill your board really well. So
Hmm.
just getting in with companies that I work with and creating cool products and being able to talk about it and do marketing campaigns behind that, and has been a real pleasure. So I think that's something cool that skateboarding has opened up for me that I probably would have never got into in the past. So at the end of the day, yeah, skateboarding's great, man. We're out
Yeah.
here, we're enjoying it, we're having fun, we're going through a lot of cool experiences, meeting a lot of really rad people, working with awesome companies, and traveling the world. And that's the key for me, and that's what keeps me happy and sane. So
I think there's some words of wisdom there. And for me, as someone who's hiring individuals to be a part of on it, I always look for people who've been great at something, and so even if that doing the thing you love, maybe it isn't feasible to make a living off it. Maybe it's ping pong and there's only like 5 people who are making money on ping pong, but whatever it is, if you're great at that and you show up in my office and you're looking for a job and you're like, well, this is my experience, this is my education, but I was great at this, this thing. And it looks like you really put the time and dedication in to be excellent at whatever little trivial thing it is. I'm way more inclined to say, all right, well, you've shown that you can be great at that. I know that you know how to be great. So come on board and we'll figure out what you're going to do here on this side of things. So whether you can make a living off it or not, doing what you love to the point where you're excellent and you've really laid out, sold out, committed everything you got to that task at hand is something that's incredibly valuable regardless, and will help you in anything, because learning how to be great is one of the most important things you can do.
I agree 100%.
For sure. Well, thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate this. It's been a nice conversation. Where can people find you if they're looking to keep up with you?
Social media wise, I mean, you can follow my Instagram. It's my name, Greg Lutzka. Twitter, a website. You can go there and check out all the videos and stuff. We're actually updating it right now with new content and new backdrop and adding some sponsors and stuff. But yeah, I mean, social media wise is kind of the big thing, I guess, right now that a lot of people are on, and the Instagram is definitely flowing, and Facebook's still there. So yeah, just my name, Greg Lutzka. You can check it
Sweet.
out, and you can also watch me in a lot of events coming up this year, and looking forward to it.
Hell yeah. Sounds good, my friend. Well, we will be in touch, and I'll see you out here in Austin for the X Games, no doubt.
All right, thank you.
And keep an eye out, everybody, for some content. We shot some great stuff with Greg out here in Austin, so we'll be releasing that through the On It Academy blog, and so you can check out some cool shit.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Peace.